This subpage contains examples of digital activities that I created and used in my classroom. The activities that are on this subpage all had students use some type of digital tool, piece of technology, application, or internet resource to create a project-based assessment or activity. And the experience would be one that is learner-centered, where the students are guiding the learning. I will not go into too much detail with each of these activities, but if you want to look at them in greater depth, you can click on the pop-out icon and you can go to the directions and read through them yourself. I did not post any student examples due to confidentiality for them. These first two examples are historical argumentation podcast tools. Students completed a podcast where they discussed Jefferson's ideology and his actions as president. They first fill out this graphic organizer, finding important piece of information and events and activities from his presidency. And they then follow these directions, wrote a script that followed a pattern that is recommended on here, and then recorded a podcast where different groups discussed the merits of his presidency and whether or not Jefferson was truly Jeffersonian in his practices. So they made a podcast. Most students used the app Audio Recorder. Some used GarageBand. They had the freedom to pick what they wanted. These activities here were creative video presentations. As a end of the year project, students made a historical movie trailer using iMovie about an event from U.S. history that would almost certainly never actually be a movie. Some examples of topics that students chose were the credit mobilier scandal, Carrie Nation and her impact on alcohol and temperance, the War of 1812, really kind of obscure events. And then from that, they then recorded a video where they had to have certain historical tidbits and facts present in it. And they then informed the class about their topic. And a rubric is presented here as well. This activity was digital augmentation, and it was for debates. Students selected an historical figure that is listed on the direction sheet or the bottom. So they picked one of these people from U.S. history, and they wrote a script, and then they used the application Erasma to make a aura, which is when it's basically a QR code that's based on a picture. Students hold up an iPad with the app Erasma. It has a QR scanner over an image that they identified, and it links to a video they created. Students impersonated their historical figure, and they then explained why their figure was more important or more successful or significant than another one that they've been matched up against. The historical figures were placed into like a March Madness style bracket, and they made these videos, and the winner of each mini visual debate advanced to the next round. This was a PowerPoint or Google slide for how to create an aura and what to expect on presentation day. Real world synthesis. Students made a brochure from the market revolution, this economic and social event that took place in the early 1800s to the mid 1800s. And they had to identify key facts, and they present it in a first person point of view as if they are someone from the era promoting all this new technology and changes to the American economy. And they had to display it in a brochure. And they were using different apps such as Canva, Microsoft Word, and Pictochart to create their brochures. This was using Padlet for world history. The directions here will walk through what students had to do, but essentially they created a Padlet on the site Padlet, and they answered questions. So they'd answer these questions about Spartan society, and they create paths to do these. They had to answer these questions as well. They recorded a video themselves explaining which society, Spartan or Athenian, they'd like to live in or prefer to live in, had they been alive during that time period. And then at the very bottom, they made a causation chart using arrows to connect one event to the next and explaining how one event led to the next event. And they made something along the lines of this. So Padlet. They worked on causation and presentation. And then the last one on here was creating a DBQ. Students in this class had to answer a document-based essay question where they were given multiple documents that they did not know in advance, had to analyze them and then organize them as evidence for a prompt to create a thesis to answer that prompt. To better understand how to do this and to practice some metacognition, students made their own document-based question, DBQ, and the directions for how they would do this are located here. And over here is a template that they could use to insert their pictures and documents and content that they would have in their final product. Students created it, worked collaboratively using Google Docs. So these are all different activities that students perform in my class that require digital tools and were student-centered and project-based in nature.